Look at Wanda, ready to rock her big presentation. But first, lunch. Sweet Pepper's Deli. Delicious, celebratory, but is it quick?
Bill?
Well, of course. Well done, Wanda. Sweet Pepper's Deli. Yes, ma'am. Life is sweet.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 5.
Welcome into the Room Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Pond. If you've been watching us pretty much all day long alongside meteorologist Caleb Edel, Maggie McCauley, our Ethan Foster, and Gabe Maynard tracking thunderstorms that largely have underperformed and, God willing, will continue to do that as we go into the evening. One of the things we've talked about last couple of days here at the Room Weather Center is that this was a threat conditional upon a few things and a threat that had potential for high impact while being low confidence. We are at the point now where we are all clear for most. And hopefully that most includes you. We'll look city by city at that here in a moment. But some strong storms are still possible for the Golden Triangle area. Of course, this would be Starkville, for Columbus, for West Point, locations south and west of there. If we're going to see something severe, those are the spots we're most concentrating on at this point here. And we do have much, much cooler weather ahead over the course of the next few days. And that will then spell an end to any storm and severe threat. But as we look over the course of the first 12 hours here, you'll see that, again, we're peak coverage of storms really now. Last couple of hours, we'll still have more move in. And again, there's a narrow corridor where it's still possible a couple could be strong to severe. From 74 at 6 to 62 by 9, coverage of storms decreasing by then. Most of the strong thunderstorms by 8, 9 o'clock, there's going to be central Mississippi, south Mississippi, where storms continue all night long. I know we have some folks in the chat asking about that. There's a damaging wind threat in particular there, but even a limited tornado threat down in central and south Mississippi. We're 54 by midnight, 47 by 3 o'clock in the morning. And that's right, 42 to begin tomorrow morning. You take that north wind at 14 miles per hour, and it's going to feel like it's in the mid-30s. That is a huge switch from the warm conditions we've had through all the storms, basically, over the course of the last week or so. Looking at Mama Justice Doppler radar, here are the players. And again, we have a front moving in from the north and west. This cold front, as this moves in, has much drier, much cooler air behind it, obviously, hence the name cold front. One of the things that we have questioned from the get-go with this has been how all of the other things related to this worked in particular, whether or not we would have a warm front, an area of warmer air trying to move in. Here's the loop over the last 6 hours. The oranges that you see here, that is that warmer, more unstable air. That has been buffeted by this front trying to kind of push in, and while the front is still northwest of here, the reason we have the oranges, the cooler air running ahead, is because of what we call an outflow boundary. Rain-cooled air running ahead of that front. That has worked to stabilize things somewhat and keep conditions from getting as bad as they could. If you're looking to thank somebody, that's the way in which this. Now, we mixed out a lot of moisture and looking at dew points. I'm talking about tornadoes. We're going to be looking for those purples there. That would be dew points that are up in the 70s, or at least pretty close to that value. We mixed down our moisture today. That limited the intensity, and God willing, we'll continue to keep it limited as we go into and through this evening as well. Now, there have been some severe weather reports elsewhere. Tornado warnings back there into Texas over the last hour or so. But again, as we bring things in a little closer, that is not the case at this instant here. As we come back over to Mama Justice Doppler radar, one storm that we are watching still fairly closely showing up here heading toward Bywai, locations around Sherwood, eventually toward the Starkville area. Now, this is below severe limits, but this is on that different interchange there. The difference between the slightly cooler air moving in, that outflow air, that is where we're looking at the potential that this could be trying to maybe strengthen just a little bit. If it attaches that boundary, that's the possibility that maybe we have something that becomes somewhat stronger. The way in which we'll interrogate this storm, again, as you can see the locations there on the right-hand part of your screen, is we're going to look at a couple of different cameras. Our camera in Ackerman, again, looking in a northerly direction at this moment here, again, showing up with what, again, lots of dark clouds. That was looking north. That actually, we swung that around to the west. So this is looking at that approaching thunderstorm there, looking at some of the low-hanging clouds with that. Again, no tornadoes coming out of this cloud at this point here. One of the things that has helped us from time to time has been that measure of moisture, the dew point, Now, this particular reporting station says that's around 70. It's not impossible we have some higher pockets of moisture out there. I think that is aggressive on this projection versus maybe what reality is, but not impossible to get this to kick out some stronger wind gusts as this approaches the Ackerman area. But as we said specifically a moment ago, I don't know that it's necessarily on a target directly toward Ackerman. I think it's a little northward where this is headed. So as I pop that down again, we're looking at most of these names there. We start getting the subdivisions on the outsides there of the Starkville area, somewhere around 547 or so. Phoebe, though, we're at 542 there, probably kind of on the north side if that's where that would hold together. Maben, 532. So over the next half hour, continuing to watch this try to produce some strong gusty winds. And there is a little rotation, if we're honest, kind of looking at this. On Mama Justice Doppler radar, we're going to look at the wind mode here. And as we bring kind of the latest couple of scans, maybe some very broad rotation. Nothing that's saying, hey, this is going to be a tornado anytime soon. It would take a lot of strengthening. But I think also evident on this shot, if I put this into motion, you can kind of see here this red extending southward. That is that rain-cooled air. Another way in which we kind of show this here for a moment. So I'll kind of, I guess, step back to this side here for a moment. You can see the edge of that rain-cooled air. If this storm can kind of hang close to this boundary, and I think it's probably already crossed it, that will limit its intensity. If it hangs right on the boundary, perhaps there's a little extra rotation there. But I think at this point, it's probably riding just maybe a little bit north of it. Let's look at that latest scan. That's a close call. Still maybe a little bit of hail with it. Our hail swath brought to you by True Shield Roofing does show that we have had a few spots in the past where this might be producing a little bit of hail in southern Montgomery County. So not impossible maybe near the Huntsville community to have some of that. But I think the weaker portion is up here a little closer to US 82. Let's look three-dimensionally on this thunderstorm, get an assessment of what that's capable of. This is actually producing that hail. And obviously, in comparison to what we had the other night, where we had some just gigantic hail in some locations there around the Golden Triangle, that is not the case with this. We get this up as high as it would have been the other night. And we show some, maybe some hail, but this is not a whole lot there. So largely a little bit below severe limits, and that's going to make nobody upset. I think that's the way we'd like to see things there. As we look eastward along this line, another one of those storms kind of pop up there close to Maben. If we look beneath that camera there, using our camera in the Maben area, eastern web, assessing what that storm is capable of. As you can see, just some dark clouds, just some moderate rainfall, maybe a little bit of gusty wind, but I don't see any of the cords there along that tower or anything else that are really moving around much. Again, appreciate North Mississippi Storm Chasers, our partners here as we look at these cameras. 8 to 10 on the west side of the Starkville area. Again, looking back into the gray, 81 degrees the temperature. And that Starkville reporting station sometimes is a little off on that dew point. That's why I don't trust that 70. If I were sure it was 70, we'd be a lot more amped up on the tornado potential. As it is, I think most of us are probably not. And so I see someone down there asking in the comments about all clear for the day. We'll talk more about that coming up here after the commercial break, because as we look on the wide shot here on Mama Justice Doppler radar, look at the whole viewing area as a whole. For many of us, we find ourselves in that all clear zone. Pretty much everything here, Amory, Tupelo, Boonville, Corinth. We love y'all up here in Hernando or Shelby or Cleveland or Grenada or Water Valley or Bruce or Houston or New Albany or Pontotoc. But if I just said your name, you're done. No more severe weather for you as we go into and through the remainder of this evening. A quick look here again at where our front is on Mama Justice Doppler. As we look at Futurecast here, you'll see that we continue to have those thunderstorms again shifting through over the next few hours. We're going to look more in detail at this in a moment and walk kind of hour by hour through this using our rotation tracks. But the severe weather threat by 10 p.m., it is all south, it is all east, and it is all gone, and it's probably all gone before that as well. We have to make a forward adjustment on the timing of some of those showers and thunderstorms on there here in a minute. And behind this, we are much cooler. We expect, as you can see up there in Tennessee, that's right, a little bit of snowfall. That's not what we're seeing. But low temperatures in the 30s, that is something that we are going to see as we look into the next couple of days. Not tomorrow morning, but by Friday morning, I think you can already imagine. We'll look at that. Well, that'll be city by city at some of those low temperatures here in a minute. Hour by hour forecast over the next 24, 59. That's all we managed for a high tomorrow. We'll look at that in more detail and break down everything related to the remainder of this threat this evening. Thank you so much for supporting us here in the Room to Room Weather Center. Mississippi Live Weather at 5 continues in 60 seconds.
After a storm, the damage is not always obvious. And if it's not documented correctly, it can cost you. Decade of experience, we know exactly what to look for. We handle the inspection, claim support, and the storm season. Make sure you have absolute restoration.
Brings its ups, downs, celebration, and disappointment, anxiety, relief, friends, and enemies. You can always argue over who should have won, but everyone.
From the Room to Room Weather Center, Mississippi Love.
I absolutely did not miss my calling as an artist here, because that's the best I could ride on there for all clear. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. Thank you so much for supporting us here on Mississippi Live Weather, a 24/7 weather streaming service based out of the Tupelo area. Myself, our meteorologist, Caleb Edelblut, as well as our Maggie McCauley, all tracking these storms, our Ethan Foster today as well. But the majority of us north of this blue line, we are in the all clear, whether it's fall clear or all clear. Mean all clear is what we're trying to show on there. And most of us fall in that category at this point here. Honestly, these storms that we have down here closer to Eupora, Kosciuszko, the only ones we really have concerned with at this point. And if you said on a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you, Matt? I'd say maybe a half. So this is unlikely to be damaging and severe weather going forward for most locations. But there's a narrow corridor where maybe just something goes a little weird, and that's what we're watching that potential for as well. So for most of us, we are in the all clear. If you want something to snap and send your friends, maybe you paste a better looking A over it than that. But most of us are in the all clear, with the exception of locations, US 82 South in particular, from Ackerman back eastward toward the Golden Triangle and eastward into Alabama as well. So hopefully that makes you guys feel a little bit better. Let's look closer on Mama Justice Doppler radar. And again, really there is that one storm here approaching Eupora that's kind of the most intense one for French Camp as well. Lightning, we're looking at 41 cloud to ground strikes. There are more strikes within the thunderstorm itself, but 41 strikes over the course of the last hour out of this thunderstorm, and it has strengthened a little bit more. Pelez back toward, again, French Camp, where it is the strongest. So we'll move that northeastward. Speed on this, we'll say about 40 to maybe 45 miles per hour or so. Again, that takes it toward the Starkville area. We're looking in and around Sturgis, again, southwest of Starkville by about 543, maybe 534. Again, same time we had a minute ago. Why is Sharon stop for you at about Eupora at 517 Grady right now? This is lightning. This is heavy rainfall. From time to time, we have seen a little bit of rotation on this, but kind of our instantaneous look on rotation is not impressive. And no matter kind of how we prod it, not super strong, but maybe just the broadest of broad rotation. As this is tracking along a boundary, sometimes that enhances our lower level kind of shear a little bit. But at this point here, thankfully, there's a lot of questions, a lot more than we have answers, which is exactly what we would like to have out of this. When we have a lot of answers in this scenario, usually that means bad things are happening. In this case, that is not the case. So a couple ways in which we'll look at this and kind of show you the contrast here. Again, if we come to our camera site in the Caledonia area, Caledonia, right at our boundary. Again, I'm east there in Lowndes County with this, right at the boundary. We show 76 degrees. Looks like we've just shifted the winds around to the north. A little bit of that cooler air starting to move into Caledonia. Not fully there, but our measure of moisture, our dew point, has dropped. As that slides in Caledonia, we can add you to the list of locations where it's less likely that you would see, it's probably pretty likely you won't see tornadoes as far as tonight is concerned. Certainly severe weather as well, also probably out of the mix for you as well. Now up here in the Tupelo area, we have some showers. You, if I step to this side here, can see the rainfall, all fairly light, not very heavy on any of the scale there that we're looking at. Our Mitchell Cunningham and Bowling camera, that dew point again cooler there, and the temperature down to around 68 degrees. And then compare that to what's going on again back out there north and west. I think we go out, this would be in the Crenshaw area. We show 64, a little cooler there as well. Again, you are in the clear. You are past any significant storm or severe weather threat there. So as we kind of compare across North Mississippi here and then wheel back around to Montgomery County, you're closer to the boundary there. I think just past some of those storms. Looks like that reporting station not showing that mix of dark clouds. Not a good likelihood that many of these will produce severe weather going forward. But as you can see, we do still have a few thunderstorms west of Winona, so I understand some lightning, some heavy rainfall from time to time still possible. So we're not completely done. We're just past the severe weather threat for you. One other storm that I am watching there closely, but it's pretty small, is this one we have here near Lynn Creek, kind of east of the Louisville area. We track this one toward, say, Crawford and Ethelsville. Again, we'll say about 43 miles per hour. This remains, again, pretty weak on our scale. Togo at 548 for you. We're tracking that again. Crawford about 531, so still 15 minutes from now. New Hope about 6 o'clock. We know you had some big hail earlier this week. This one's really small and would take a major uptick in intensity before it got to you if it was going to try to produce something like that. Still kind of looking at the broad rotation back here toward our storm near McCool. Let's go ahead and look at it from the Jackson radar site. Get an idea. Again, broad rotation there, close to where with this. This is on our boundary. And I would say, just kind of looking at the wider shot here as we clear off that storm track, the single storm that I am at all even a little bit concerned with in the whole state of Mississippi at this point is this one here close to Eupora. Actually moving closer to Ackerman, if we're honest there. That's going to track here towards Starkville and out northeastward. That's the one we'll watch. It's not going to produce a tornado in the next few minutes, so we'll look closer to that going forward. And I'm going to track the storms just a little south of that as well, just in case one of these ends up picking up in intensity. Again, moving that northeastward, about 40, 45 miles per hour. So that getting towards Zama by about 7:34 there, Louisville, just before our 6 o'clock broadcast, if it kind of holds at that pace. Okay, let's look at a few ways that we can kind of assess things here. The first of those is Storm Finder, something you'll see only here on Mississippi Live. What you'll notice on Storm Finder is, again, pretty close on its positioning of where it has everything right now. We expect those thunderstorms continue to kind of flare up, stronger down, closer to Jackson as we head to tonight. And you don't see a whole lot of the yellow showing up in the northern part of the state. We have been limited on our instability. We mixed out a lot of the moisture, and that has limited the overall intensity of thunderstorms. And as these continue to move south and eastward and out of here, our threat moves out, not just for tonight, but for the next few days. Whereas we kind of retained a limited threat for today, after the storms we had earlier this week, this threat is gone after this. And what then happens is we bring in some slightly cooler temperatures. Maybe slightly is understating that a little bit. From 80 on today for the high temperature on your Wednesday to 60 the high on your Thursday. We're back up as we head towards Sunday. More storms possible then, but a more dramatic drop in temperatures behind that front as we just scoot all that moisture right on out of here and eliminate some storm threat for a while. So we've been running well above normal. I mean, come on, even tomorrow we're only 5 degrees below where we should be for this time of the year. But then that drop more substantial, and it takes a little while longer to get back up close to what we expect for this time of the year. So your no school day forecast for your Thursday as spring break continues to move on, slip away, drag on, depending on your parental opinion of things. We're going to be 41 at wake-up temperature for your Thursday. So I know my kids have been out there playing outside, playing in the woods, doing their whole thing the last few days with maybe less supervision than they deserve. It's going to be a lot cooler for tomorrow with 50 by noon, snack o'clock there. And by the end of the day, when spouses or other people come to help us, our IMPC no school day forecast has us in the upper 50s. And yes, our countdown to sanity for when the kids go back, still only 4 days, 18 hours left. So that is slipping away. So hopefully you have found opportunities to enjoy that with the family. Here's storm rotation. And again, you can see how as we progress over the next few hours, there are some spots where that storm rotation does maintain itself. So let's walk hour by hour through it. This is our HRRR model. What you'll instantly note on here is we don't have a lot of these where we have some of that storm rotation. I think this one it has toward Houston too far north. And when I look for those bright stripes, I'm looking for the brighter reds, whites, and those sorts of colors there. I don't have a lot of those being depicted on there at this point in time. So I think that means that, again, while this tries to get another flare up down here closer to Macon by, say, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, I'm not going to say that's wish casting where the model has a wish and it wants to forecast that, but I am saying that I have a fairly low confidence level that that is how this is going to play out for those locations there. And after that, it's all out of here. So our HRRR model, one of the two main projections that we rely on here on Mississippi Live Weather, underwhelmed by the rest of this evening. Let's see if our strike model does the same thing. And I'm going to take, and I've had to adjust some things on this, so you give me a moment while I adjust this eastward by 1 degree of latitude. That should hopefully get all of this aligned, because its positioning is just a little bit slow, which happens when we get into an event like this. So I think one more of these to adjust. There we are. I think we're all aligned where everything needs to go on this. So this is our strike model. And again, it was obviously more aggressive on some previous areas of rotation. Clearly, that did not materialize very well. And when we looked at strike last night, it was not this aggressive either. Even this morning wasn't that aggressive. So it kind of picked up and said, based on where storms are, let's go with it. So I'm looking more what's ahead on this. And what I don't see is a whole lot of rotation tracks ahead either. So it is unconvinced on what we're looking at largely for what's going forward tonight. So I would say that while we have still some thunderstorms ahead, some rumble, and that one storm we're watching that's close to 82 moving into Webster County, we'll watch that. But most indications there on our two primary projections that these storms are going to remain primarily below severe limits. So temperatures tomorrow morning, these are right, 30s, low 40s. Normalist time of year is 43. We've talked about all week long. We've been 20, 25 degrees above our normal. We're back. It is still early March after all. So it should not at all be a shock that yes, 30s are possible, maybe some frost tomorrow morning, and wait till I show you early morning on Friday, because that is more likely that we could be talking not just frost, but perhaps a freeze for some locations then. I had to expand and change our graphic to get it all on here, but we go from 70-ish for the low temperature this morning to 40 by Thursday morning, 37 for Friday, and look into next week, even colder. So I'm telling you right now, Mrs. Lawpon, I've had to tell her, don't do the planting yet. This is what I'm telling you. Don't do the planting yet, because we have another freeze on the way. And if you've lived here for any period of time, you know that's how March goes here in Mississippi. Tomorrow morning, all out of here. This storm's still probably causing some active, maybe even severe weather down overnight and into tomorrow down toward the Florida area. Some snowfall on the backside of it, but the north winds behind this much cooler area. It will be kind of a breezy day as well to go along with those cool northerly winds, but we're done. We're out of here. No severe weather threat, and we are dry for your Thursday. Thursday's high temperatures, we typically should be 65. Will be 59 in Tupelo, and for New Albany, 58 degrees there in the Oxford area, 56 Clarksdale, 55 degrees back in Cleveland, but at most lower 60s, and everybody below our 30-year average for this time of the year. Futurecast keeping it dry into tomorrow night and into early morning Friday, again with no cloud cover out there, or at least limited cloud cover. That's like not wearing a blanket at night. You can probably get a little bit cool. When the clouds come in, they try to insulate us just a little bit. And that's one of the things that'll probably keep us more middle to upper 30s as opposed to, say, lower 30s there. We at least have some of that cloud cover for at least part of the overnight period early Friday morning. I think there could still be a couple patches of fog out there maybe for the first part of the day. Just not sure if we're going to get winds quite calm enough for that. Low temperatures, 37 Water Valley, 39 degrees Oxford. We're going 38 New Albany, 37 Tupelo and Amory. And again, 43 is our average. No, this is not a record low. Record on the books is low 20s. Not going to be there this time around. So Friday expected again to be dry, that dry air solidly in place. We do have this next kind of frontal system getting a little closer to us for Friday. No real impact there as far as any sort of precipitation is concerned. It comes through dry more than anything. Just another push of drier air settling in here. And I think but behind that, really, there's not a ton of colder air. So it just is ensuring a longer period of time before our next rain chances come back by the latter part of the weekend. So highs on your Friday. Again, where it's a little cooler with that weak front up here, Tunica at 67, South Haven 67, but 71 degrees in Houston, 73 Eupora, 72 Starkville, again above that 66 we typically would expect. We have our Friday night game of the week, again, presented by the folks there at Langston Lott and Casey Lott. Hold on, it looked like I need to double check that. I think I changed it to Friday, but I might not have changed it to the right Friday on this. Nope, sure didn't. Hold on a second here. Now we've got some data for you. I tried to do this behind the scenes while Gabe was doing all his pictures, so that one fell through the cracks. Ooh, hopefully I don't fall through the cracks on on the Ole Miss and Mississippi State ones as well. We'll have those for you at 6 o'clock. We'll have a chance to clean those up a little bit. But first pitch temperature, 55 there on Friday in Booneville. That's not right. It's 6:45. I think that's the time change that got me. Hold on, because I had it set for 6:45 and then I moved it forward a week. So let's fix that. Man, Law Pond, what are we doing here? There we go. 6:45. Save. There's our accurate numbers. Everything's golden. Okay, so first pitch again, our game of the week, East Union in Booneville there, presented by Casey Lott and Langston Lott. We're 60-degree first pitch, 54 by the fourth inning, and 51 at the end. We all know if Gabe Maynor were out there, even the low 50s, he'd still be in shorts. I'll probably be in long pants. Myself, our meteorologist, our Ethan Foster will be there looking for highlights. We'd love to see you. Come say hi. Again, voting on the fan section of the week, as we often do. And also the most valuable non-player. We'd love your suggestions. We'd love to feature someone for that as well. So again, you can find us there on Facebook where we're doing that. So here's the forecast next couple days. We're 60 for that high temperature. That's it for Thursday. 69 for Friday. 76 as we look towards Saturday. We're dry Saturday before our next rain chances come, and a few thunderstorms possible on Sunday. But you can tell, without me even telling you whether or not there's anything strong there, when your lows are low 50s, that means still the air is pretty dry, all things considered. So we're not talking about significant severe weather, at least not based on what we're looking at now. And then 30s behind this for Monday, maybe even some 20s by next Tuesday morning. So it will be much, much cooler than behind this storm system, and probably talking about frost. Before we go any further, now's the time over to Mama Justice Doppler Radar to talk about your personalized tornado warning system, and that is Weather Call. It lets you know if bad weather is moving toward your location. In particular, if we're talking about severe weather like tornadoes, it will give you a phone call. If the National Weather Service puts out a tornado warning, they say confirmed tornado in it, it will call you back to make sure you know. And why do phone calls matter? Because this thing right here, if my wife wants to call, it's going to bust right through. But I have this in personal mode. And if it's not my wife or Mr. Gabe Maynor or one of the people on my team here, it's not ringing right now unless it's Weather Call. And I have that in my favorites. So you can sign up for more on that. But again, I recommend this for all parents and kids and parents of kids because this is an alert that will bust through and make people know, hey, pay attention. You can find more information. It costs $15 a year because making phone calls has a cost. And you can turn on the apps alerts. Certainly you should. But I think Weather Call makes a big difference there. Okay, let's bring it back in here. And you have some questions. A lot of folks are talking about there. I see KB mentioning I missed Matt. Hey, you know what? Look below me there. In particular, right there, where it says Roku, where it says Apple TV. If you liked watching us on the TV station, thank you so much. But we're here 5, 6, and 10 p.m. each day here in the Room to Room Weather Center. Our live broadcast every single day, 5, 6, and 10 p.m. Monday through Friday. I was at the TV station for 14 years doing it, and I'm still doing it here as well. Gabe, by the way, your microphone is on behind the scenes just in case. I'll go ahead and mute that back there. But yeah, 5, 6, and 10, we're still on here just like we were at the TV station. We do a morning show every day as well here in the Room to Room Weather Center. We thank all of you for supporting us here in Mississippi Live Weather. So let's kind of bring that chat back on here for a moment for everybody. Yeah, if you've missed what we did before, we're still right here and we're still doing it every single day. And you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and all the different places as well. I even have the TikTok going over here behind the scenes. Remember the way we'd like point the camera at the TV screen at the TV station? Doing TikTok same way today. So if you missed the good old days on that, that's a way to kind of check in with it as well. But here in Ackerman, this is our one thunderstorm that's a little bit more interesting as well. I see some folks picking it, cackling behind the scenes. He'll have to tell me afterward what do you think was so funny? Boy, I sound like a crotchety old guy saying that. What's so funny? But anyway, here's our track of our strongest storm. Again, I kind of whittled down here to the biggest locations for a moment. As you can see, 617 in the West Point area, 605 in the Starkville, and 534 within the next few minutes into the Ackerman area. If we kind of shrink the size of the locations involved there, we'll get a few other spots that kind of populate into there. A lot of other spots that start showing up, like the Cairo community at 551, Adenton on the west side there, Starkville at 554. In the short term here, Fentress, Mathiston, Sherwood, all kind of in the path in the next couple of minutes. This is heavy rainfall. This is lightning. Let's check for hail. If I check the hail swath, we've had a little hail on this from time to time, but not a lot. We'll check our camera there in Ackerman, which I've been watching behind the scenes here. You haven't been able to see it, but I've been kind of watching it behind the scenes as the storm has approached. Not quite to Ackerman, but obviously the dark clouds, the gray look, the murkiness, that's all showing up there as we have our camera in AI mode, looking for storms, looking west into this. I'm going to disable that here for just a moment as I kind of pan kind of west and northwest, again, looking into this storm. A lot of low-hanging clouds there, a lot of stuff to still watch, but this is all heavy rainfall, and that gray you see there, that is the maybe hail, but primarily heavy rainfall that this storm is looking and producing as it kind of works its way toward the east there. So again, this is that line of storms moving into Ackerman. I'll look down toward town. There's a much better shot, I think, as we look back toward town. Look at that shot there. Again, kind of what's going ahead here. And then there's the heavy precipitation. So we can kind of correlate that here with what it looks like on a Mama Justice Doppler radar for a moment. And we'll go back again to the regular rainfall mode on Mama Justice Doppler radar here. And so that's what's approaching Chester, going through Chester right now, moving into Ackerman in the next couple of moments, pretty much in Ackerman as we speak.